given a bad rap, and
Yeah,
rightfully so.
we need to give it a-
Rightfully so.
Okay, so up is back, down is forward.
So, down is from
Surprise.
So, anyway,
You have a few
minutes
Third
left.
those ringing and when I thought they needed to practice with that,
Yeah.
not during rehearsal,
Because I
not
made
tonight,
mine.
not night of presentation. That's not a good idea. So,
they're all similar, so it's not that much difference.
is everybody logged in?
Mhm.
Oh, we still got 5 minutes. Yeah. Do you need anything?
nothing.
Everything's good? Awesome. Well, we'll say welcome to everyone anyway.
Thank you.
Good to see everyone, and thank you for coming out and participating. It's a big deal. It's a lot of fun, even though you're presenting. After you're finished, it's gonna feel like the weight just got lifted off your shoulders.
Do you have anyone coming?
No.
Okay,
You did one thing. Yeah.
I think that's most of them.
I think we're good at the amount of people we have right now. And it'll be on YouTube.
I'm Mrs. Simon, so I know you don't know who I am.
We should remind you that they're live streaming, so anything you say will be heard on the live stream.
So, yes,
It could be.
yes, it could be,
Somebody said it can and will be used against you.
yes. Did you practice with the remote? Is it? I can get it back. Yeah. Maybe because it's not my.
That's what
I guess I,
that was right.
I'm not taking Susan. That was just my guess.
Hunter, are we going to go see your product or are you just going to tell us about it? I mean, I saw it down there. I just wondered.
You don't want to go see, I mean, I showed pictures of
Yeah,
it.
I just wondered if we were going to go down there. and see.
I don't know how that will, what that works. Yeah, you know.
You have 20 minutes, so we could, if.
Just depends.
I haven't seen it.
It's,
Do we want to go see it right now? But
No, after you do the
After
presentation,
it's
and
very
once you
nice.
finish your talk, and we should probably have some time, we can just, is it in the Bears Den? We could step down there and look, real fast. Yeah, because we're not looking at everybody else's, we're just looking at one. It would just take a couple of minutes.
and it's right inside the door.
yeah, it's the first one.
Oh, perfect. Does anyone have any questions? Everybody's good? Okay, and you've got your number put in the 1920s, no, 1982?
We're only gonna have one timer per ring. We're not starting with that. Do you care if I have?
Yeah, if you would like to look at your titles, you're welcome to do that. too, I was looking at your chart. Hunter, are you good?
Are we ready?
Are the
That's it.
computers?
I'm in.
I'm in, but I tried to click on something and it wouldn't
Work.
click on it.
It may not work until 5.
Your clock, is your clock fast?
Probably.
Well, by the time you get in, it's
If it's not, we'll call the experts. That was just my advice, it's not, okay.
You can click that on A, B, C, and you can just.
click on the
Anywhere
words.
in the box, and you see there, and you can.
He's the expert. We already have the expert.
Well, you should have told us that a while ago. You were the expert.
I was reading, I wasn't paying.
Yeah, he's the expert. Okay, you're right. Thank you.
Am I ready? We live in a world that is constantly changing and evolving, especially in the construction industry. For the last 2 years, I have taken carpentry at Votech, which Votech is a class provided to us by West Plains. At Votech, you can take many classes, such as culinary arts, welding, auto body, and of course, what I take, carpentry. And while working on many job sites and all of the projects that we have worked on, I have realized that one thing I prioritize the most is safety. And this leads me to saying, accidents hurt, but safety doesn't. Hi, my name is Hunter Barton, and I just want to thank all of you for coming out and listening to my presentation. OSHA, or Occupational Safety and Health Administration, was founded April 28, 1971. OSHA's goal is basically just to keep everyone safe and make sure everyone is maintaining the correct safety procedures. OSHA will pop up on any job site at random times and just make sure that you're staying safe. And if you're not staying safe, they have bad repercussions, such as getting fired and losing your job. At Votech, I got my OSHA card, which OSHA 10 is it's a 10-hour course on safety and health and just trying to make sure that you know how to stay safe on a job site. Staying safe, you want to follow the correct OSHA standards, such as wearing the correct PPE or personal protective equipment. Doing this, you would want to wear safety glasses if you're cutting on wood or if you are staining or painting, you'd want to wear gloves and a respirator. In 2021, there are 150,000 injuries and 1,100 deaths. Some common mistakes and accidents that happen on a job site would include falls, which would be if you are on scaffolding or on a ladder or just on a roof and you're not wearing a harness or just the correct safety PPE you need to be wearing, you could fall off that roof or fall off the scaffolding, and that could lead to a really bad injury. Falls would be if someone is on the roof and you don't have a hard hat on and they drop something off of the roof. That could hit you in the head if you're not wearing a hard hat, and that could be a serious injury. Electrocution would be, if you're changing any of these GFCI outlets, if you're changing and you haven't turned off the power, that could seriously electrocute you. Or if you're not using the correct tools for the job, you could be seriously injured. Caught in or between objects would include if you are in a trench working on pipes that are underground, and if you're not wearing the correct safety PPE, that trench could collapse and you could be seriously injured. You want to stay safe, not just because you could get injured, but you could also die from it. And if you die and if you have a loved one at home, you're just leaving that loved one at home all by themselves. For example, if you have a stay-at-home wife who doesn't work to take care of the kids, if you lose your job, you're going to be leaving her behind with no income at all. And even if you do survive a really bad accident, you could be losing interest in that one field of trade that you once loved. For my project, I decided to make a desk. While making this desk, I made sure to wear safety glasses while cutting all of the boards, and gloves and a respirator when I was standing and painting. I made this desk because, going throughout all of high school, I never really had something to write on in my room. Like if I had to grab a notebook or just anything hard to write on. So this would, even though I won't be in school for the next, forever, this would really help me. I could put a computer on it. If I'm filing taxes in the future, this is something I could just put everything, all of that paperwork on here. I started off with making the legs. I didn't get a good picture, but I put an X between here. The X is basically just for support throughout the desk to make it more sturdy, and just to make it a more stable desk. After that, I ended up putting the legs together, and just to help stabilize it and just keep building the desk. That V is the same reason. It not only is it for looks, it makes it look better. It helps stabilize the desk. After that, I moved on to doing the shelves in the top. The top I made out of just regular 1x6s, and I'll show y'all later, but underneath I would put braces underneath to keep those boards together, so when they get dry and they get smaller, they won't expand and have huge gaps in them. And then the shelves were just made out of 3/4 inch plywood. On the blueprints, I find it was a struggle because, if you're just 1/8 of an inch off or just one cut, you're gonna have a gaping hole if you just read off the blueprint. So I figured out that I had to actually measure it, the whole thing, and I couldn't just follow the blueprints for the shelves. After that, I moved on to the finishing, putting on the stain and the paint. This would have been my least favorite part of doing the desk because I'm not a big fan of doing finishing work. I had to put wood fill in the desk, which I don't really like doing that because it takes a lot of time, and I'm a guy who likes moving at a really fast pace. And then I ended up glossing it with polyurethane. I put about 4 layers of polyurethane on the top. Finished product, I was really happy with how it turned out. This is something I worked really hard on, and everyone that I've shown it to has really liked it so far. I just really like how it turned out. One of the challenges I had to go through is I never had to make a material list before I worked on anything, so that was really new to me, and I had to figure out how much boards I need, what kind of boards I needed, and how much it would cost. And this led me to having to go back to Wagner's a few times because I'd forget to write something down, and that was just one of my challenges. Another challenge would have to be clamp size. I didn't have a big enough clamp for the top, so I kind of had to improvise and just make my bigger clamp. Thank you. Do my judges have any questions?
What's your next project?
I'm not sure yet. Depends if anyone else wants something to make or something.
What about, okay, you did this for your senior project, and you've been going to the South Central is this gonna be a career path? You wanna do construction?
Yes. Carpentry, yes.
Carpentry. So woodworking is not necessarily something you really wanna do?
I wouldn't mind doing it if someone asked me to, but I'm just open to anything at this point.
Yeah.
So the research you did, what do you think was the most applicable or pertinent when you were working on your project?
Like the most surprising, or
No, so when you did the research on OSHA and some
Yes.
of the safety measures that they suggest, what of those could you apply to your work on your project?
just being safe throughout the project, wearing the correct PPE, and maintaining that correct safety protocols that OSHA provides for you.
Did you build all of the desks that were built?
Yes, I built the whole entire thing.
So what type of tools did you use?
I use mainly just an impact. It's mainly all I have to use. Paintbrush. And that's pretty much it.
I mean, I thought you'd like a
Oh, and
circular
a-
saw and.
And a chop saw, yes.
Any other questions?
Okay, so if you get a job in construction that some, like a local person that doesn't worry about OSHA, is that gonna be a problem for you?
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And I don't want to work in an environment that is not safe. I'll be putting myself in harm's way.
Did you want to step down quickly and look at the product?
Do I take my
Can you
time?
just leave me?
Let you stay and I'll go, that way nobody's messing with their computers. We'll have to be super fast if you're not finished with your working.
Yeah, I've not.
You're not
Should I
finished?
finish?
I can finish.
Yeah,
It'll
what
be
what did
down
you
there
finish?
if you wanted to go see it before your.
Yeah, that's true too.
Can I just take this?
Yes.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, nice job.
Nice job.
Yes.
So this is the next.
Presentation.
Right.
Yeah, it starts at 5:00.
So I'm not.
Yes. Yes. You have your speaker?
Successful submitted judgment that they're just over, I don't do that.
No. Well, but no. You did submit,
I
right?
do.
Okay. Do you have your schedule?
I do. We got 20 minutes on.
Oh, yeah, yeah, this might be when you wanna grab some.
Yeah, okay. I saw that twice.
Yeah. It'll be good.
I want to be.
Do it. Go. 104 at 5.
Is it good to see you? Yeah, good to see you too. Have a good evening. You too. We'll be back later. Yeah, that's right. So Andrea, she just stepped out a minute. Yeah. Gary's here.
Each one was down on the publish. There's something like something.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay, you guys are okay, just for future reference. Just make sure they're all
Just rest on the side of this guy.
I'm just resting.
I made sure,
It will be okay.
I made sure that I could see.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
I have the,
Oh, thank you.
we just need one more for
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Hill.
We have four. Mr. Kumar, Mrs. Wallace, Mr. Birch, and Ms. Rowland.
Everyone that is here has one.
We are missing Mr. Kumar. So we don't have to put back in there. Does anyone have any questions about the computer or budget or anything? Everybody's all good? Welcome, Sandra. You want to practice with the clicker?
I've used this clicker before, so I don't know.
Awesome. Are you expecting anyone to come?
My buddy's here.
More support those kids. Because you were running. I know it did you, doctor. Yeah. My husband's had both surgery on both knees and he ended up having both replaced, and then my son has had, we have 3 surgeries on his knees.
That's where I'm headed, for sure.
Stay away from the lunches, that's what costs us from working out. So he suggested.
Very good. I got the right time of day, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I have trouble with the Vietche part, but I got this one.
I got that.
Well, yeah,
I
that's
said
just,
that, dog.
you're born with that. No. What's your brother doing?
Daniel?
Yeah.
Well, he was doing flooring with my uncle up in Springfield.
Yeah.
Right now, he's been home this week, so
Yeah.
I think he might go up to Springfield again next week.
I'm sure I'll run into him at Taco Bell or something. That's where all the Rogersville Russians go, is Taco Bell. Cause I've seen them there twice.
The one here or
In
North?
Rogersville. Yeah.
We usually stop by from Springfield. We stop by the place that has like the circle. It's like right before Rogersville. No, it's right after Rogersville. There's like KFC, McDonald's.
Yeah, that's where I bump into
We
him.
usually eat at McDonald's. Me and Keem eat at McDonald's.
Hey, McDonald's all the way.
That's the one thing I always get.
I ran to that double quarter pounders now. I need more beef, more iron. Besides, they come off the grill hot anyway. McDoubles don't always
I stick
come
with the
off.
spicy chicken sandwiches, those are pretty good.
Not at my age. They repeat, once is enough.
Can you guys see the screen okay?
I guess I should have tried that before. So, nobody.
Oh no. People already say all of it. Just give me that.
Does anyone have any last minute questions about scoring or anything? Everybody's good?
I should have brought the park in.
I'm with you, freezing.
In the mornings I have my little heater going because I don't have heat. And then I have to use my air conditioning.
Did everybody see his number, 202-004?
That's when you were born, wasn't it?
No, I'm born in 2003.
Okay, it's close.
Are my judges ready? Have you ever walked into a house, whether it be your grandparents' house, your parents' house, or your brother's house, any relative's house, and seen that there was a problem, like there was paint falling off the walls, or the drywall seams were cracking, or just that the floors were uneven, or some floors were broken or crooked? Hi, my name is Samuel Firstoff, and today I will talk about that DIY, doing the project or fixing the project by yourself would be better than hiring a contractor to do it for you. There are many benefits that come along with doing these DIY projects by yourself instead of having a contractor come by and do it for you. For one, you have a very flexible schedule. You can work on your own time or your own pace, and you're always around family that would be supportive of what you're doing. You also gain a lot of experience while working on these projects. For one, if you haven't done this project in a while, it's a good refresher, and if this is new to you, you will learn how to do it and you'll know how to do it from that day forward. I believe that it is healthier when you do the DIY project by yourself, because when a contractor would come by, he might make a mess and not really care about it. But when you're doing the project by yourself, the area would be cleaner and your body would always be moving around, whether it be getting tools or running around after materials. While working on these projects, you will save a lot of money because nowadays lumber is very expensive, and because of that, more contractors charge a lot more money while doing the projects for you, and it's usually, you can save up to $20 a person per hour while doing the projects by yourself, because the only thing you'll be buying is the material, and it'll benefit you because it's cheaper and you gain more experience. Doing these projects is healthier for you because you will be working in a cleaner environment, which is healthier for both your mind and body. It is healthy for your body because it keeps you active, running around after tools or materials, whether it be a few steps away or having to go to a store to get them. It keeps your mind working because if you don't know how to do a project, you're going to look it up, or you're going to go find a blueprint that'll help you get the project done. And reading blueprints would be somewhat confusing, so it keeps your mind constantly working and trying to figure out what to do next. There are many types of materials that can go into DIY projects. The most common is wood. Wood is the most common because we have a lot of wood growing here in the United States. Although most countries use either rock, concrete, or steel, the United States uses a lot of wood because we have so much of it. Although steel is used in DIY projects, it is more rarely seen because steel is really heavy and most DIY projects are really small, like building a desk or shelf. Although brick is used for decorative things only, people do use them for patios and just making the house look a little neater. There are many tools in DIY projects and construction sites that are very similar. For example, impact is not as commonly seen on construction sites because you use nails with an impact, and not nails, you use screws, and screws would not be able to hold the tension of a house. Although many people think the impact and a drill are the same thing, they are quite different. Although they work the same and sound the same, the impact is used to drive the screw in, while the drill is used to make the hole for the screw. A common tool you'll see on a construction site is the nail gun. The nail gun is a tool used to just make framing faster or sheeting the house a little faster. The nail gun is not as commonly used on DIY projects because if you're making a small project, the wood would shatter once the impact of the nail gun hit. And a tool I got to use a lot on my project was a sawzall. A sawzall, or otherwise known as a reciprocating saw, is used to cut nails, wood, or anything depending on the blade you have. The sawzall can be used to cut things in tight corners. It makes things easier to cut in tight corners, or it makes it easier if you're trying to cut something out from something. Doing these projects, you gain a lot of experience, whether it be learning something new or relearning something. It is good for your mind because if you're learning something new, you have more knowledge, or if you haven't done a certain project in a long time, you get to relearn that and you get to regain the experience. While working on these DIY projects, you gain many new tricks that help you complete the project faster, cleaner, or just neater. And in general, new tricks will actually help when completing projects. For my project, I remodeled a living room area and the kitchen. The kitchen was somewhat of a side job because my original idea was to remodel the living room, but since I was helping my friend out here, and he wanted to have an open kitchen dining room area, and that dining room just happened to be open with the living room. So I helped him out with the kitchen also. There are not many challenges that I faced, but a few challenges I faced was using new equipment. I got to use equipment that I haven't used, like, for example, I had to use the big jackhammer to break away the old brick and concrete that was on the ground. They had a big fireplace in that house before this, because I have no idea why, but it was in the middle of the room, and I helped them break that apart. And after using the jackhammer for all day, my hands became really numb, and that wasn't very good. And another problem we had was there was a small leak in the roof, but once we got up there and tore the shingles out, we found out that the whole half of the roof was bad. And we had to fix the roof before I can start on my project. I think that it is better for people to fix the problem by themselves instead of hiring contractors. For one, I believe that it is healthier for the body and mind, and it is good for you because you learn new things or relearn new tricks that can help you later in life. Do my judges have any questions?
How did you learn to use the tools? Did you just pick them up? Did you pick some of them up and just learn to use it yourself, or were most of them taught to you?
Well, most of the tools I use now I just picked them up and used them. But for the jackhammer that I used in this project, I'd have my mentor show me how to use it because it was one of the bigger jackhammers and I had no clue on how to operate it.
Did you take Mr. Bell's shop class?
I'm taking it this year, but I also take VOTEC, which helped me a lot while I was doing this project because I got to learn a lot of new things, like how to do things properly and by city code.
So is this something you might want to do for a career, is remodel houses, flip houses?
Yes, I love flipping houses like this, and I love to build new things. And I'm actually helping my uncle right now flip his house, and I think that I have a pretty good spot in this career for the future.
And when you redid the kitchen, did you do much with the plumbing? I mean, as far as the,
Well, I got to take out the old plumbing, but my mentor knew more about it, so he done the actual plumbing. I've done some plumbing before, but I'm not very good at it right now. I hope to get better at it.
it's a learn thing.
Yeah.
The remodeling that you did you change the design or were you just like replacing old wood with new or?
We replaced the design because originally they had 8-foot ceilings, and my friend here wanted vault ceilings, which basically just peaks up like this. And from 8-foot ceilings, we put the point up to 12-foot ceilings. Thank you.
So we use the fair one. We got any good stuff, so.
Do you want one of these packets?
If we knew the word, we'd all be scared of it. So I won't say anything, even though we're on a live video feed, and nobody can hear. Did you get right into this? Okay. Then we don't listen. We don't listen. The teacher.
And then her code is on the
Good job.
And then,
Good job. Talk to you, so.
Oh, okay. Yes, up and down, right. Do you wanna click it to make sure it's right?
We're tired.
Hey, Mr. King.
Don't forget my schedule, okay?
I won't forget it.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
What? She looked bored to death. As I was in the first room, she's just sitting there. So. Huh? It's okay. No? I guess neither. No, I was on the other side.
There's somebody sitting here who can sit in the first one and the third one there. Okay.
Right.
So, I think you're. Yes.
It's all right.
Oh, I'll be on time. Do you have any questions?
Not yet.
Her number is 2008. Make sure you're okay. Allison, you doing okay? Yep. Is this your first year? Yep. You okay? Yeah. Have any questions? It's changed a little bit, but.
Click on the letter. You click on the letter with a dot, so if I found that out, at 5 o'clock, I couldn't make this thing work. You have to hit the letter.
Common problem, I did the same thing.
Well, I think that's been, because we had problems in here with that, too. We thought, it was just 2 minutes before 5 o'clock. Well, it's not 5 o'clock, they're not letting you access till 5, was our solution. What do we know, they're not taking? Well, I think when I learned these senior projects, it was all on paper.
Yeah,
Chromebooks were not a thing.
and the raptors were running around outside too. Yeah.
Remember when you had to tabulate those by hand, the next day they would roll?
Yeah. Switch, you gotta have it here like me.
Does anybody have any questions? Martha, you have any questions?
Not yet.
Is this your first, today? Your first?
No, it's not, but I've been doing this for years,
I
but
know.
I'm still in a,
You'll be fine.
yep,
You'll be fine.
It's like me looking at reflectors at night, because everyone sees the top of your head. It's really convenient. Much safer too. You realize what your day's coming in a few years. So we'll just wrap it up now.
there a presentation in this room after this one?
Yes. They're back to back till 8:30. Did you practice with a clicker?
Yeah.
Have you practiced with this one before?
No. Or yes, Miss Martin's is like this one.
You practiced?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder, it's live stream, so anything you're saying is getting picked up, so FYI. When you get that visit in the morning, you'll know what happened.
I'll be fine.
What's it worth to you?
No, just hungry.
So you can maybe bribe people.
No.
Who's gonna know?
This is like camp. That's what.
Oh, they're just telling us that it's really fake.
No, it isn't.
The caucus does. Judges are meeting. Anybody have any last minute questions?
Our judges ready? In today's world, people often overlook the women's side of sports and think that it is boring to watch compared to men's sports. If you're at a local standpoint or even a TV standpoint, you see that women don't deserve or aren't getting the same recognition or the same revenue as men. Hello, my name is Ashton Jones, and gender discrimination in the world is an ongoing problem that must be addressed because women are receiving lower pay wage and less media coverage. Through my research, I researched that equal pay is an ongoing problem. In the early 1900s, women were just starting to begin in the game of basketball. They were starting to become more popular and more known all around the world. And in the early 1900s, women's salaries were earning from about $70,000 to $80,000 a year. Men on the other side were already above them at from $80,000 to $1 million a year, which seems dramatic, but even at the early 1900s, $1 million was a lot of money, especially for sports. In the beginning, Miss Nara White, she was by far the best in her time in the early 1900s. She was in the pro leagues for about 25 years, and she took her team to the national championship about 15 times. Out of those 15 times, she was voted MVP 10 of those times, which has never happened before even today. She was being paid about $50,000 a year, which was 4 times less than what men were earning at that time. Title IX. Long before Title IX, long before Miss Nara White, Title IX on June 23rd, 1972, it was passed. Title IX is an Amendment Education Act that was meant to help gender discrimination and help genders not have differences. They were to keep genders together, and even in the high school level, college levels, and the middle school levels for sports, which is big for women. In the early 1900s, again, like the early scholarship opportunities. For women, this was really big for them because they were able to get the same type of scholarships as men were at that time. So that was really cool for them to have that opportunity. They also gained the 5-player full court rule and 30-second shot clock. Before then, they were only allowed to have 3 players and a half court rule, and they absolutely did not have a shot clock at all. So before the Title IX, they were able to have a lot more freedom and kind of get in the same position as the men's. So this is 3 really big rules that came along for the women at this time. Like I said before, Miss Nara White, she was super big into basketball at that time, and she was really, really popular around that time as well. I chose to do my comparison with Sophia Cunningham. I chose her because she has been, she grew up in Missouri, which is close to home to me, and she grew up kind of up north to us, but it was really cool to see her go from Missouri to play in Mizzou basketball, which is in Missouri, so it's really cool to see that from a local standpoint. And she also is now playing for the Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA, which is really cool to see someone from my home state kind of grow and become who she is. But their pay wages are a little bit different. Miss Nair White, like I said before, she was earning about $50,000 a year. In the early 1920s, Miss Skokie Cunningham is now earning $75,000 a year. 100 years later, that's only a $25,000 difference, which is more than what they had, but it's definitely not where we want it to be. ESPN did a comparison on two professional athletes, Anthony Davis and Anika Ogwumike. Anthony Davis and Miss Ogwumike were both #1 overall draft picks in 2012. They both have were both on 6 All-Star teams, and they have very close statistics when it comes to basketball. But their pay wage or their salaries are much different. In 2020, Anthony Davis was earning about $27.1 million, which is a lot. And Miss Ogwumike is earning about $115,000, which is dramatically different. And it's Miss Ogwumike is having to have another job on top of her professional job because she isn't able to have that big substantial living like most NBA players might, or even most NBA players. So she's having to have a professional athlete's job and then a job on top of that to make a living. My last research is media coverage. If you think about it, if you look on TV to look at a basketball game, you don't see women on TV as much as you would men's ever. You mainly see women on TV if it's the March Madness, playoffs, or even finals for the women's. You don't really ever see regular season games on TV like you do men's. And media coverage for them is kind of a way that women can be more out there in the world. So to me, I feel like broadcasting can be more consistent in kind of growing the population for women's basketball. I researched that SportsCenter is one of the biggest TV, and they can help mold society and athletics and female athletics more positively by showing the games more on TV and kind of give women sort of a more positive outlook. All through my life, I've played many sports. I started out with soccer for about 8 years, and then I started to grow the love of basketball and still do today. So for my product, I chose to do a record board for my project, and I wanted to make sure and give younger girls more of a positive outlook on their season career or anything in their high school career, and hopefully make it to where they can go to the next level. So I started off with my base with a 3x4 piece of plywood, and then I started with a 3x4 piece of metal, which I had painted, spray painted maroon. In that last picture, you can see me cracking glue, which I'd never done before, so that was a little cool experience. It took 3 to 4 days for the metal to kind of set with the board. Then I had my names done, and I did it with vinyl. I started to do my titles, like my Lady Bears basketball, in just plain white, but that didn't work out, so I did gray behind it, and it looked a lot better. I also chose my names for magnetic boards, so that it was easier to stick on my metal and take on and off as names were exchanged and anything else like that. So I chose metal to do those, and I did vinyl on that as well. So my finished product, I chose 6 different categories: all-time scoring, 3-pointers made, free throw percentage, assists, steals, and rebounds. I chose those 6 categories because I feel like most people are wanting to look at those 6 categories. They're the most popular out of basketball in any gender, or women's or men's. It was also really cool for me to put my name on there as well, so that was really, really cool. And I was able to get more of a glimpse of women's basketball, especially because I was able to just see all the women on this board who have been in Willow and have set goals, and they definitely made an impact on Willow Springs. So in those 2 pictures, you can see me putting my name on there. So like I said, it was really, really cool to have that. Some of my product challenges was getting the correct information from the past. Me and my mentor, David Cox, had to kind of rely on the correct information from the internet. We didn't really have record books kind of going back or that far. We had some from like the 1980s that we couldn't go back as far to look at record boards or record books to make sure the information was correct. So we kind of just had to rely on that as much as we could. I also had my paint chip on my vinyl, so every time I pull my vinyl off for my names, my paint would chip. So I had to take stuff off and re-spray paint it, which was time consuming. Some of my project benefits was, again, younger girls athletes. I hope that this can give younger girls of Willow Springs, future basketball athletes and even present, something to kind of give a visual representation of, and they can kind of look at that and want to be on that board and give them something to be excited about for girls basketball. And I hope that they can see that and help them out. It also taught me real world skills. Like I'd never really worked with caulk and glue before, so that was really cool to kind of do because it was really hard for us. And just working on the Cricut and stuff, just doing stuff I could use throughout high school. So through my project, I think that my project will be able to kind of give younger girls, athletes, something to look forward to and something to kind of express themselves and them wanting to achieve something in their high school career. Thank you, Joanna. There's any questions?
So you're gonna play basketball in college?
Yes, I am playing at Baptist Bible College in Springfield. Thank you.
You hope to go on to the WNBA then?
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, it would be really cool. Yes.
What was the most difficult part about finding information for this project?
Like I said, it's just hard to just kind of rely on the internet of what we had because we didn't really have something to physically look at to make sure they were correct. So I feel like that was definitely the hardest on just trying to find the correct information. Just had to kind of rely on what we had on the internet and what people had kept up on.
Are you keeping the board or you?
It's actually going to be hung up in the new gym right by the girls' locker room, kind of right before you walk into it. So.
Somebody else will have to keep it up.
Yeah, so my mentor David Cox is also the assistant coach, so he's able to keep up on the records. And when something is going to be changed or something, I have my SCCLA teacher who won't be my SCCLA teacher next year, but she also has the font and stuff she can do to print it out for me, even after I graduate. Any more questions?
Have you watched The Doctor yet?
I have not, Mr. K. I know. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. I know.
8:13.
8:13.
At 6 o'clock. I get a dinner break and I'll be back at 6:20.
No, I hated it so much. Bye, Mr. Crane.
See ya. I'm gonna ask you again Tuesday.
I will watch it.
All right. Nice to see you. Things calming down out there. You getting a few more bodies.
You set your board up here.
Alright.
And then here's your flipper.
Are you ready? It's like.
Well, we still have a few minutes.
Okay.
So I'm just letting you know. The down arrow is next. If you want, you can practice.
I don't care. You can come. Yeah, mom's gonna be with me too.
I didn't allow my mom.
You know, I don't know which one of these says overcome bad coaching, but I don't wanna hear it, okay, but, piece of cake, brother. Piece of cake, upside down, shot.
I don't like chocolate.
You're missing the point.
You doing it? Right.
You're missing the point. Oh, I'm not in the right one. This is Justin Osborne. Who's Justin Osborne? No, this is you're Scotty.
Yeah.
Is it your brother? Is your brother Justin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
You're gonna support you.
What are you, a freaking teacher? How old even us?
I'm ready to get chill in the road.
You got 5 minutes. This is terrible being in a suit.
Being a suit, I can't really move. Yeah. What? No, I'm good. I promise.
The video signed in.
Hey, this is gonna be good. You can do a good job. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait till schoolers next year. That's the one I want to go to.
You know, we went to that schooling, like go through the real schools,
Yeah.
and he didn't talk to anyone. I
No,
was like, why'd you not talk to anyone?
he's all fluff.
He's something.
No substance.
Oh yeah.
What was the requirements at this point? Any boards? Did you have to have so many boards or so many pages?
I think 8 to 10 pages.
judges ready? Okay, so whenever my dad told me before I choose what high school I wanted to go to, he told me that I should pick wisely. So I picked Willow. He told me that I only had one chance to do anything that I wanted to do in high school. So what I did is that I wanted to be able to play basketball. Hi, my name is Scotty Osborne, and I'm going to be telling you why I choose to play high school sports. So I choose basketball because I've always been the biggest fan. Me and my father used to watch NBA on YouTube, so we watched Michael Jordan, and one of his favorite quotes was that if you quit once, it becomes a habit. So I took that personally. So whenever I came here, I pushed myself to be the best because I was a freshman and I wanted to prove everyone that hard work can beat talent. And I felt like if I quit, that means that I'm letting myself down, I'm letting everyone else down. So I felt like that was personal to me, so I took that. So I wanted to be the best. I knew that I was a freshman coming up, so I knew it was going to take a while for me to become the best, so I took that personally. So reason to play is once in a lifetime opportunity. I know I'll never be able to play the game of basketball again with Willow Springs, so I feel like time flies by whenever you're having fun in high school. And to try something new, because high school is only 4 years, it goes by so quickly. You can do anything that you want to do in high school, if it's sport, education, clubs. So my research paper, it was about the benefits of sports. And whenever you're wanting to play any sports, you should start out at a young age, because if you start out at the age of 10 or 12, you're not going to be as good if you were 3 or 4 years old. And for basketball, dribbling is probably the main thing you need to focus on whenever you're young, so that you can get used to it and you should be able to do it nonstop. So looking up to, most people look up to like their biggest fans, like NBA players, NFL players, hockey players. But who I look up to is my father, because he's a hardworking man. I feel like if he didn't know what he was doing, he was going to keep pushing himself to figure out what he was going to do. And some people don't have fathers, so I feel like if they didn't have fathers, they would look up to people who are like their grandpa or their uncle. And some people look up to people who have passed away, because if my dad passed away, I would look up to my uncle or my grandfather. So grades, whenever you're wanting to play sports, you have to attend school, because if you don't attend school, then you can't attend practice. So having good grades means that if you have good grades, you'll be able to play the sport that you want to play. And if you don't have good grades, then you won't be able to play. There's a lot lower dropout rates in high school with that doing with educations or with schooling or basketball, because most kids don't like to work hard in school, but they like to work hard in practice. So then they won't be able to play because their grades are not high enough. In scholarships, if you have good education and good sportsmanship, I feel like you can have really good scholarships. So working out, staying in shape is probably the main thing to do in off season. So in season, you want to work out to keep your body in shape, muscles from cramping up or anything like that. You want to recover from injuries. Working out will help recover from injuries. And working out with your teammates, that's probably the best thing you do, because working out with your boys or with your girls is probably the best thing to do on a team. So on the court or on the field or anywhere you're playing with your teammate, there has to be leadership. If there's not leadership, then your team won't be successful during your playing time. And respect, I feel like if you have respect towards your other teammate or your coaches, that you're going to succeed during the game. Because trusting your teammate is a big thing, because if you're looking for a three-pointer with like 2 seconds left, I feel like you should trust your team for making that three-pointer. So how this led to my project, I wanted more kids to be able to play the game of basketball, because my first year here, there wasn't as many kids here to try out. So what I did is that I wanted to start a camp and a lesson so that the kids can be able to know what basketball is really about and like how basketball works throughout high school. And I wanted a good person to help me throughout this, so I picked my coach, Coach Wilson, because he's a unbelievable coach and person. So right here we did a couple of dribbling drills. We played defense 2 on that. And right here we did some passing, dribbling, and shooting up in the air. And on this goal right here, I had to adjust the goals for the kids because they couldn't push the ball up that far. So what I did is I had to get smaller basketballs for them too, so that they can shoot it up. And the funny thing is that the girls are more athletic than the boys, so I thought that was pretty cool. So how I did it, I wanted to do it in the high school gym so that they can feel the court whenever they get to high school, but I had to do it in the elementary gym so I can make it easier on the kids so that they won't be able to miss school or whatnot. And like I said earlier, I just had to adjust some little things for the kids so that they can be able to pick the ball up. So what I taught the kids, just the basics of sports, or excuse me, the basics of basketball, so dribbling, passing, defense. And we played some games. We played knocked out, we played horse and pig. And like I said, the girls usually win out of the boys, so I thought that was pretty great for the girls. So what I want the kids to learn is that hard work beats talent any day. If you have passion about the sport, you'll work harder than if you don't have as much talent. Because if you have talent, you won't work as hard. And I want the kids to be able to play the game of any game that they want to play because they have 4 years to be able to play high school sports, and it goes by way too quickly. Playing together, probably the big key, because you have 5 people on and off the court at all times, or you have 11 people on the football field, on and off the field. And starting out as a young age, I feel like that's the most important thing about this, because if I started out, if I was 10 years old trying to be a basketball player, I wouldn't be as great as I was if I started out like I did at 3 years old. So my biggest challenge is that it was during my basketball season, so I wanted to show the kids how Coach Wilson coaches us during his practice, but I couldn't have a good time because we were focusing on district and semifinal and all that. So I think whenever we did this, Coach Wilson said that we could have the good opportunity to do it during their PE class so that they won't be taken out of their class and out of their time. So what it taught me that a lot of kids looked up to me, and it made me feel really special about myself. And I feel like a coach because maybe one day I want to be a coach, or that I want to be just a teacher of some sort. And to make them a better person is the best thing. Making them a better person will make them a better player, I feel like. And they loved it. I gave them popsicles. I enjoyed popsicles with them, but I didn't take any pictures of it with them because it was just a blast to have. So like I said at the beginning, my dad said that you only have one chance to do anything that you want to do in your high school career, so you want to make it count because it goes by too quickly. Thank you. Do my doesn't have any questions? I know that was really quick.
I know what it feels like to be a coach. What did it feel like to be a coach?
Well, it felt good because they looked up to me, like they trust what I was saying to them.
Give me some more. Tell me what else you felt.
Felt like they really felt like they wanted to do something. Because if I didn't do that, they would be like horsing around in the corner or something like that.
I like how they responded to you.
Yeah, the girls respond way better than boys do.
Was it just you and Coach Wilson?
I had Coach Bunch help me too because it was his class, so he just set aside and let me and Coach Wilson do our thing.
You want to coach at the high school?
Maybe, but I have to go to school for that. I don't know about the schooling part. 50-50 maybe. Felt like the kids enjoyed it more than they did whenever someone else was coaching them. If they smiles on their face, I seen them with Coach Bunch and they didn't feel like they were having a good time. So, so I felt like I was doing something right. If I'm talking too slow or too fast or too quiet? Sure. 8 minutes? For like 4 minutes. You sure?
Scotty, good job. Just kind of. You should be proud. Oh, yeah.
Good, Scott.
Good job. Oops, sorry.
I'm going home.
Take your stuff
I'm
with
taking
you.
my stuff. Wait, can I go to Emmy's, Mom?
Hey, huh?
Can I go to Emmy's? Really? Actually, I might go watch Owen Brazil.
Yeah.
Did I do good?
Owen is in this room.
Yeah, they're good. Did I talk to you about it?
Come on.
See you, Coach.
Watch some of your friends in.
It's over, right?
Over.
Good for you.
Hey.
You can give me a hug.
I know. I know, I had to do that.
That's what we
I did. Yeah. Because even a kid that doesn't do good probably tries as hard as he can.
Thank you. You're welcome. And you'll be back. Thank you. For some reason it wasn't working because it wasn't being set. Is it working now? It's working now. Okay. I'm just worried that it's not going to stop.
Thank you.
Caleb, get over here, buddy.
Oh, look at you.
Huh?
Awesome.
Okay, so what I need to select your checkbook.
Thank you.
You're welcome to say.
Board party? Yeah?
Don't forget we are live streaming, so anything you said say will be free.
Is there a place where we can watch these?
I'm not sure how they'll do that this year. Do you guys remember?
Oh, that's a very good question. I wonder if that's gonna be.
It might be interesting to
It
see.
might be on the school website, or like, because I think, isn't that how they're doing it, or is it on YouTube?
They did YouTube before,
Right.
and then that was a whole new review,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure what.
Well, I know everything that they broadcast, it's on the school website.
On the school website?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
I'm sorry. I really, like, thought I was.
The transition.
That one time I came in with it, and I thought, "Hmm, 1 minute to spare."
I think you have anybody else coming.
judges ready?
Yes.
Did you know that each one of you has been an active participant in printmaking? It all started when you were first born. When you were born, a nurse would roll ink on your hand and your foot, and they would get the print from that. And that was the first time you ever created a print. So printmaking has been a type of art that has been used a lot, and most people haven't really noticed it that much. If you ever heard about like colored pencils or kind of just sketches, drawings, and other types of arts, you hear about it more than printmaking. So to know where printmaking truly began, we have to go back to the first start of it. It started with cave drawings, where cavemen would place their hand upon the wall of the cave and they would blow material at it. And it would leave behind their handprints. And after many years, it has developed into the printing press, which was used to print pamphlets for it, and the Bible, and just other books and many other things that it was very useful throughout the time. And it has caused artists to develop them into their art, so they could have more forms of art. And with these different kind of styles of art, they wanted to try to appeal more to people, so people would want them more. And they wanted them to have more character, because if they had more character, they would appeal more to people. And they also wanted it to have more texture, so people could, maybe like children, they like to, feel stuff. And if you ever go to Walmart or any bookstore, you can see they have different types of books that has those different textures. Like for an animal book, they could have a cow with like hair and stuff, and the kids would like to feel those hair. And they want those more because you can really mess with them. They really love it. So they're also more accessible because you can obviously print more off with your original print that you have. And with regular pictures, you have to sketch them out, you have to outline, color, and do all those. But with prints, you can just roll the ink on there, place it down on the paper, apply the pressure, and you take it away, and you've got your picture. So with also the symbols and the pictures and textures, it also helped to communicate with others. It allows for them to kind of tell stories. When me and my family went to a Auschwitz museum in Kansas City, we saw many pictures there. They had different ones kind of telling about the different sides of how people were looking at it. So on one side they had the Nazi kind of pokey. They had showing like a Nazi farmer pitchforking away the Jews, and on the Jew side they had a picture of a man, skinny, and he was having to carry out dead people. So it was showing their kind of ways using the forms of the arts. So they also want to maintain the interest of the viewer, because if you have the interest of the viewer, you can get your point out. And like I said, with the kind of with them carrying the people out, or with that picture with the man carrying the people out, it was showing how they were being treated, and they wanted to get their message out to more people. And through their kind of pictures and stuff, they also try to express themselves more. So for my kind of thing, I tried to show my personality as being kind of more cool and kind of more calm, and it also showed how I kind of thought too. So with me, I tried to do a picture of I did my own little print of Smaug on the board, and I wood burned it. So I got the original design to do it because in art class I was making a lino print, which a lino print is where you get a rubber stamp and then you draw the design you want to do, and then you can carve it. And based on the carvings, you can have however deep the carving is kind of the white spaces, and then wherever the ink is dark space. So it led me to believe, or it led me to think more, what is the general type of art that's in? Because I've never really heard of it before, or I've never really known what it is. And that's where it led me to find the name printmaking. And after that, I had never really heard of it, so I kind of did a little research on it, and I chose it for my topic because I thought, what is printmaking? And I wanted to make it out of wood because I never really worked with wood before, and if you know me, I like to do the old classic sketching and then using colored pencils. And that's always been my favorite way, so I wanted to leave my comfort zone. With leaving my comfort zone, it would also teach me more skills that I didn't have. And of course, with my project, you've got your challenges. So for one of my challenges I had was just finding the wood. Mr. Bell was my mentor, and he has a crate or a wagon full of scrap wood that's for free for people to use. And I wanted to try to get my stuff for free so I didn't have to buy anything, just pay. And so when I was trying to find wood, I couldn't find the best piece of wood. There was some that had people that already was practicing using a wood burner, or they drew on it, or they practiced nailing through it. And finally I was able to find at least a decent good piece of wood that I thought would work. So in my next steps of it, after I had found the wood, it had a whole bunch of chips and different kind of cracks around it. It didn't look so good. So I had to make wood filler for it. But I also didn't know how to make wood filler because I had never done wood before. And after practicing more with Mr. Bell, because he was teaching me how to do it, I was able to learn how to make wood filler. And I finally got it all smoothed out. And I also, in my first try of making wood filler, I had a problem with it. I was making it too thick. It wouldn't apply as right as I wanted it to. So I worked through that with Mr. Bell. He really helped me a lot. And once I had drawn out the grid and then the design that I wanted to do on my board, I had started using the wood burner. And I also didn't know how to use a wood burner, which Mr. Bell also taught me how to, just different techniques. He taught me different techniques, tips, tricks that I could use. And after I kind of went through and started working with it and understanding how to use it more, I was able to make my product. So even though I've had many challenges, it has caused me to learn more about printmaking and how it's really affected us throughout our lives, and to see how it's been there through birth to all the ways to where we are now. And I wanted people to really see that printmaking can cause a big impact on our lives. Thank you. Does my judges have any questions?
Could you bring that a little bit closer so we can look at it in detail? Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful detail there. Very nice.
Do you plan to do anything else with printmaking later?
I really hope to. I want to kind of, at my mom's store, she has a store in Willow, over here in Willow. And I hope to kind of do more of that, and I hope to sell it in there. Because I think I actually sold like just a normal picture in there, so I was also wanting to just do kind of wood. And Mr. Good, he gave me his old wood burner and some of the other tips and stuff, so I was wanting to hopefully do more.
That's good.
Where is your mother's store?
If you go to Pizza Americana,
Okay.
in the what used to be the old Curtis building that's destroyed, it's to the right.
Great, thank you.
And also there's, I think, a Mexican food truck by it, and it's called Grace 365 Mercantile.
Yes, I know where that is. We'll have to look for your work.
Yeah. I work some Saturdays at it because she has a second job, so, and she works for the Annie Ann's pretzel truck or the Cinnabon truck. And yeah, she'll have me work it. It's not bad. She always tells me, you know, you could just draw or something while you're there. There's nobody in there. Yeah, it's a really easy job.
It's really great. Nice job. Thank you very much.
All right.
Very good in there.
You might make sure it works.
My slides pulled up.
Yeah.
It's 1998.
Yes.
Are you judging mine? Deal. I'm gonna have a packed house. That's right.
Then I let her know.
Oh, no, sorry.
I gotta write a lot of stuff.
Wore out? Bunch of good looking judges coming through.
Thank you, sir. Hey, suck it up a little bit, Owen. Feel like he is. Sucking up a little bit.
Did I say that out loud?
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt. Why did I bring a dessert with me? You get done, and you can have the dessert if you want it. Cause I'm not getting in the seat anymore.
Hey, you know, we're on live stream, right?
Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be live.
I didn't say anything bad.
This is the most I've presented. Most I've presented is like 12.
Your name was mentioned a lot.
There was a waiting list.
I was in.
My name was mentioned a lot.
Was that the only you were talking about?
No.
Different one. Never mind.
I was gonna say, what is your have to say about this? Probably go blank there for a few minutes. Oh, I already did. Got warmed up.
Overhead projector.
Huh.
Who asked me
So I almost
Who asked me?
and he uses it too. And he has a smartphone picture too. So he uses his overhead.
Is it right on time?
Yes.
Really? No, I'm just pushing. Let's make up. It's my room right now. It's my room.
Pick it up.
That's really important. Are judges ready? Alright, let's take a look at two very different places. The first one being a high school basketball game. It's a very exciting experience, it's very lively, and you might see Butch Jones or Kurt or my dad yelling at the refs. A lot of entertainment going on at a basketball game.
Now let's take a look at a church on Sunday. It's not as exciting, not a lot goes on. I was raised in a Baptist church, so you might get half a hand raise or maybe a quiet little amen every now and again when the pastor says something good. But while church seems like a lot less exciting place, church and God will fill your life more than what a basketball game could ever do. Hello, my name is Owen Dudridge. I'm here to talk to you about using sports to teach about God. So my inspiration for this product, well, I did a basketball camp, but my inspiration was C of O. C of O hosts a basketball camp every year where you stay, it's 3 days and 2 nights, and they teach you a lot about basketball. They teach you everything you need to know about basketball, the fundamentals, every drill you can think of. We did over those 3 days. But they also taught us a lot about God. 2 times a day, I took us into a classroom and we heard testimonies from every one of the coaches that helped out there. And the most important thing I learned from this camp was not anything basketball related. It wasn't a basketball play or a basketball drill I could do to get better. It was what Coach Shepard said at the last day. He said, basketball is going to end one day, but God will last forever and He is eternal. So I want to take a look at some athletes who have made that connection that God is the most important thing in life and a sport is not. And I came across these 3 athletes. The first one being Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is an NFL cornerback, and he is a very successful player. He had all the money and the fame he could ever want, yet he just wasn't fulfilled with his life. And after 2 failed suicide attempts, he found God. And he went on to say that God filled his life more than what the football, the money, or the fame did. This next person is Brandon Slay. He's an Olympic gold medalist. And he said this after winning the gold medal. He said, God encouraged me that there's a greater gold, the greater treasure, and it's Him. He's the filler, He's the one I should draw my value from. So even after winning the gold medal, signifying he's the best wrestler in the world in his weight class, he was still more fulfilled with God. Now this last person is Tim Tebow. I'm sure we all know who Tim Tebow is. He's pretty much a preacher who plays football sometimes. And during one of his NCAA national championship games, he wrote John 3:16 on his eye black. John 3:16 that night was the most popular Google search. So even though it was one of the most important games of his career, he decided to spread the word of God instead of deflecting attention onto him. So after taking a look at people who thought God was the most important thing in their life, I wanted to look at the opposite end of the spectrum to get a better understanding of why people don't think God is the most important thing in their life. And I came across Charles Templeton, who's a former Christian evangelist. I mean, he traveled the world talking about God. He went to a lot of rundown countries to try to spread the word of God. And he saw a lot of awful things doing so. He saw people with no limbs starving to death. He saw people dying of dehydration. He saw people dying of preventable diseases. And on top of this, he developed Alzheimer's, which caused him to have a lot of questions. These questions being, how could God, a God that exists and loves his people, allow for all this to happen, all these bad things to happen? And he writes about this in his book, Farewell to God, where he explains these reasons of why he doesn't believe in God anymore. And I read this book called The Case for Faith by Lee Strobel, where Lee Strobel is trying to convince people that God is real and that he exists and that he loves his people, but even he has questions of how God could let like the Holocaust happen, or genocide, or starving to death happen. So I want to take a look at these questions and arguments. I wanted to find answers for these people. So the 2 most popular questions that people have for why God doesn't exist is death and suffering. They don't understand how God could let some people die some ways and some people suffer while some do not. They don't understand why God creates with free will if we're just going to sin and do bad things. And they think science can just explain everything. So the best answer I found for death and suffering is there's an absence of God in our lives. People do not live through God, causing sin, causing death and suffering to happen. So if people live through God, there would be an absence of God in their life. And for free will, God created us and we created sin. So if God didn't create us with free will, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And then lastly, for science, the Bible is a moral compass for us. Science can tell you how or why things work, but it cannot tell you why murdering or stealing is wrong. That's what the Bible does. The Bible tells you right from wrong. So after learning all this, I wanted to spread the word through a basketball camp. I wanted to lure kids on the basketball and tell them about God. I wanted to make the connection with them that God and sports do go together, and they should go together, and that God is more important than sports. So I'll tell you what happened at my camp. First, halfway through each day, Jeff Conger talked to the kids about why God is more important than sports. And we wanted to plant that seed that God is more important. Now to the basketball side of things, we did a shell drill. We did a lot of high school drills that we do at high school practice, and we did shell drill, which is a 4-minute defensive drill. We did a lot of fundamental stuff. This kid's name is Aiden, and you can see he's using the proper form for a right-handed layup. Right here is animal rebounding. This was Braden's favorite drill because there were no fouls. He got to foul as much as he wanted. Right here we did a lot of shooting. We did a lot of shooting drills because Coach Wilson wants us to shoot the ball in high school, so we wanted to let them know that anytime they're open they can shoot it. So we worked on a lot of shooting drills. And last we shot a ton of free throws because that's what we do in high school practice. We shoot about 50 free throws every day, and you get in trouble if you don't make the right amount. So doing this project, I faced a lot of challenges. The two hardest ones were reserving the gym and scheduling. Reserving the gym is a pain in the butt. It's so hard to do. It's never available. And then with scheduling, the junior high kids' sports run together. And so I had about one weekend after their football season and the weekend before youth hunting season when I scheduled this. And if the gym wasn't available, I was kind of not in a good spot there, but it was. So we were good. Next, promoting this was pretty hard. I had 3 or 4 meetings with the middle school PE classes to try to get kids to sign up. Me and Coach Forrest made flyers for this. Coach Forrest passed out flyers. Coach Bunch passed out flyers. It was we had 15 kids turn out, which is pretty good. And Dennis and Jeff were originally supposed to talk, but Dennis got sick last minute, so Jeff had to fill in for both days. So thanks to Jeff for that. And then I realized that I'm an awful coach and I could never do it. I can understand what a coach is trying to tell me to do, but I can't articulate what I want somebody to do and for them to understand it. Overall, this camp was pretty good. We had a lot of fun, and I think they learned a lot. But most importantly, I think they learned that God is the most important thing, not basketball, and they should value God over basketball. Overall, doing this project, I matured a lot. I realized what it takes to be a basketball coach, and I became a lot better Christian because of this project, and I'm thankful that I got to do it. Do my judges have any questions?
What was your favorite part of teaching the kids at camp?
Like the favorite drill we did, or just
sure. Whatever your most memorable part.
When we did animal rebounding, there was a lot of tackling going on since we said there was no fouls.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of kids on the ground, and it was just fun to see them play around like that.
How was the transition as far as the kids sitting down with Jeff versus being involved in the drills and stuff like that? Did you see a big change in them, or were they attentive and learned?
So what we did was we had them do a few warm-up drills, like we do layups and a lot of fun, like shooting, a lot of fundamental stuff to get them going. And then we set them down when they were tired, like halfway through, give them a rest, like so a drink break. We had Jeff come in, and then we let them finish off after that. So it's pretty smooth.
Good job. Good job.
I butchered the argument part. That's what I was gonna say.
Did you ever hear me yell at you? What? Did you ever hear me yell at you?
No, I said you're off the rest.
You didn't listen to the speech.
As long as you sleep in, it's just like the old days. You sleep in the next
He's gonna
class.
go back and watch.
Totally butchered that.
I don't know if that's in the
That's
voice.
much better time now.
I don't know, but I can't fit in this chair.
It's too sweet.
Is it on?
It smells so good.
Are you kidding me?
Did you get
You were back there.
Yeah.
Always keep in mind.
Oh, and you did awesome.
Lily.
I'm proud of you.
Lily.
Lily.
Ooh.
That's all we need.
Just go and share.
Are you happy? Are you like happy you're done?
Yeah, feeling a little better.
What? How? How?
Julianne butchered.
Huh? Julianne butchered. No, I think you did great.
It's just go in there, son. Savvy took a picture of you, right? It's going to your son. He'll probably screenshot it better than the picture she's on with me. So usually I'm just taking my hat off.
Or, yeah, or I make this little.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah, I got my glasses. Or I say Savvy and she goes, what? And I take the picture like, what? All right, let's go. What's your rush? What's your rush?
I can't grade this with you.
I know. He's savvy. He's savvy. He's savvy.
I mean, I would get into it now if she's that single, that's the only thing that's gonna work. I mean.
Wait, who's next?
You know what I do with
Who's
this?
the next one?
See,
Have a good
I have, yeah.
Wednesday. No, there's someone before that.
Oh, we have a break. We can go back and eat.
No, I'm not. I'm not walking back there again. I can't. My legs are too short for this.
Strawberries are really good.
Listen here. You know, right? Who's presenting next? Oh, so there is a break.
It is us.
Why do you have the door closed? What? Why is the door closed? Like you're not letting anybody else in?
No. 7 to 7. See, I knew.
Mandy, I can't walk back down there. Oh, okay. I don't want to be loud. I'm like wedged in here.
No kidding.
Fine. It'll just make me realize that I need to eat better.
Well, somebody else, maybe I misunderstood.
Just so I can cancel that out.
Winstead?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's always a good feeling when you can put clean for. Yeah.
Oh, I'm supposed to have dinner again.
Huh?
I'm supposed to have dinner again.
Well, I'm not going back down there.
You're supposed to have dinner. They have chocolate covered strawberries.
Oh, we just came from there.
That's the best part, is the strawberries.
I brought my dessert back and I gave it.
I'm not.
Okay.
I brought my.
So I'll move to somebody else.
At least you're embarrassed.
Oh, you're really embarrassed.
Because it's live stream, but it's still. Well, yeah. I don't want anyone seeing it. I'm not now. Okay, so no camera. I'm moving because I don't want to be there. Okay. Wait, there's someone else that's well, I was talking I'm well aware now.
So when you get a phone call in the morning.
No, Ryland's already called.
There you go, you got to call early.
I'm moving behind her.
Where is it? back down, Julie.
Oh, sure.
It's actually a different time. Can I send it to you?
Why is it a difference?
One of these guys.
Ms. Martin, how do I just get that?
She actually finished 2 days, but she had 782. She keeps sending me nothing. So I had to do this last 2 days.
I get it.
So I made a new presentation with a whole new one, and Miss Martin still has the old one. It's fine. She's seen that.
We got about 5
He said
minutes.
she could send it to me.
But if I can, I'll just improv.
No. Oh, yeah, probably, you're great.
Just send it to me.
Okay, can I use this?
Yes. Has that been approved by Ms. Martin?
That's my, like, I don't care, but that's just my.
You're sure she's
Yes.
through there?
I've showed it to her.
We're not gonna see something?
No, it's totally fine.
What do you think he's gonna show?
We had that happen once before.
I didn't realize.
What kind of stuff are you judging?
It wasn't, that kid was gonna slide in that wasn't appropriate.
Yeah, I promise I'm not going to fuck this.
Here's your clicker. Demo is next.
Well, I do.
You're not judging.
No. Yeah, he's got 4. Julie, are you judging? Okay, so 1, 2, yeah, we got 4. Okay, so you don't need to. This was my break. This is my break. Do you not want to go have strawberries?
She's already been.
Go have seconds. I'm
If
giving you the
you're
rest of it.
not signed up, it won't let you.
Julie, she tried that while ago, and we just had the 3 judges and we needed. I'm kidding you, it's not working.
Right.
Is it going?
It's loading right now.
And your
You
service
can't
mark
send it.
has been this.
Yes.
Do not
Hey,
name
is
it.
it
This
for
is a
close?
what you do good job.
Well, Josh Winstead needs to send me the presentation he has only this Martin sent and has is not the correct one. But Andrew's logged in on whoever's account.
I didn't change this today, how come Miss Martin didn't have it uploaded?
Hey, I have a student that's wanting to, send me the correct presentation because I have this one session correct. And so how did that,
I also didn't like my presentation. So I got everything on this one. I got
okay, and then how do I get?
I didn't show it to her. I didn't tell her that was this.
Yes.
She's seen it.
She said she.
I showed it to her and
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
you want to look through everything.
You'll have to send it to winter projects at wspgs.com, and then Andrew's on his way to help.
That's gonna say you got about a minute.
Senior project user.
No pressure.
At senior projects at wspgs.com.
At what?
wspgs.com.
Teacher. Okay.
All right.
You're retired.
The principal's office is right down the hall. Oh my goodness.
She got tight lips and everything.
That's right.
You know, like, you used to react that way all the time. She laughed.
It wasn't my fault, I touched it. It's usually my fault.
Teacher.
Is this the presentation on here?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it goes out.
No, I don't appreciate you guys laughing.
You're making me nervous.
You're just on his last nerve.
Yeah, I wanted to stop right now.
Because the principal's office is just right down the hall. You're just dying to
Last
say
month by 2
something.
days ago. That sound right?
Sure. I mean, it looks right.
Is that the right one?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now I'm ready. Are my judges ready? We all have different lives, we all do different things, we all have different jobs, but one thing we all have in common is we all clean. As soon as you can start watching you clean, your parents want you to just start cleaning yourself as soon as possible. We have to clean to stay healthy and to keep our spirits high. If you don't clean, it's going to be trashy. You're not going to feel like you want to feel. If you go into a building and it just looks, there's trash everywhere, it's dirty, it's nasty, grimy, you're not going to want to go there. You're going to want to go to some other building. This is the reason why I started a cleaning business, is because I wanted to improve others' lives and help any way I can. And this is the best way I can because I've experienced it. My name is Josh Winstead, and I find it important to clean because of others' health. So I have a lot of experience in the cleaning industry. My grandpa actually started a business in the 1970s, and my dad carried on that business, and I am carrying on that business now as I turn 18. My dad has 30 years of experience, and I thought that was really good. Like, it benefits me to have that experience in that industry carrying on, so I can learn from him and do the right things and not have mistakes. Going through this, I have almost endless opportunities because of the knowledge I have, the knowledge I can, the knowledge I have. There's almost endless possibilities because I have a lot of experience, and there's cleaning everywhere. I mean, you can clean anything. I researched allergens because it kind of goes hand in hand with cleaning. If we don't clean like our buildings, if we don't clean our house, we will suffer from allergens. Almost anyone is allergic to something. Some of the biggest allergens are dust mites, cat hair, pet hair, food allergens too. I also researched how to prevent allergens, try how to get over allergens as well. And it's actually very simple. So you can, let's say you're allergic to peanut allergies. If you eat like a whole spoonful of peanut butter, you're gonna have to go out to the hospital. But if you take one little bit of peanut at a time, gradually you will get immune to peanuts. And also cleaning, vacuuming helps a lot with carpet. Dust mites live in carpet, and just vacuuming helps a ton, more than you might realize. My business plan was my product. My business is called United All Clean, and I created a business plan for that just to help me through the newness of a business. Starting out a business from scratch is very hard. Not having any funds, not having any money, it's very difficult. So that was one of my challenges, just starting new. It's
like I said, it's very difficult. Another challenge is inflation. Right now, it's the gas right now is really high, and that's my biggest expense. My next biggest expense is chemicals, and that's not much. Like I said before, I picked this as my product because it'll help me later on. If I want to have investors, I can show them my business plan, and they can look over everything, and it should give them enough information. It should be enough information for them to decide if they want to invest in my business. United All Clean, I created the name, I created the brand, theme, everything. I wanted United in the name because I feel like right now everyone needs to be united. It's a time where it's very confusing for a lot of people. There's a lot of things happening in our world. And I'll clean because I'll clean anything. If you want me to clean your room for $100, I'll do it. This is me scrubbing some carpet. So this is the second part process to clean your carpet. First part is pre-spraying chemical, then agitating, and then hot water extraction. So we have a huge machine in a van, and it creates heat. It also creates suction, so you can have a long hose to get all the water and chemical out of the carpet, and it cleans it very, very well. This is tile and grout. So right, this picture here actually has the solution down of both the pictures. It's hard to see in this picture, but you can see that they're coming out of the cracks already without scrubbing on it or anything like that. So after this, I'll scrub it and then vacuum it up. And we had to do a second time, put the chemical down and scrub it again to get the rest of it out. This is after, so this actually has a sealant on it to create it so it doesn't get dirty as fast as it did before. And it also makes it a little shiny too, kind of like a wax. This is my table of contents of my business plan. So executive summary is my first point. Executive summary is like the whole business plan in a couple of pages. So if an investor wants to look over your business plan, they don't have to look over the entire thing. All they have to do is look at the executive summary. Company profile is what your company stands for and what your company is. So my company is sole proprietor. We started business 3 days after my birthday, which was February 11th, so due date was February 14th. Our mission is to create the best quality as possible. A lot of businesses, not just cleaning businesses, don't put 100% effort in their products, whatever they're doing. And our mission is to do the most 100% of the time, most 100% of our, Our location is in Pomona. We don't have a different location than like my house that we just started. That's our next mission, that's our next goal, is to get a location, an office, somewhere where customers can come in and set up a quote or just ask questions. And that's one of my immediate development goals, is to do that. And second is get a website. A website can cost a lot, and to maintain it costs a lot as well. Our financial status is pretty minimum because we just started, obviously. This month we made $2,000 already. And this is the first month that we started selling or started actually getting jobs. Industry analysis is the history, it's just the basic knowledge of your industry. So clean industry, there's a lot to the cleaning industry. There's maids, there's cleaning everywhere. It's a huge industry. And it's in every country. You have to clean. marketing plans and sales strategies. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get on Facebook. I'm trying to set up Google. We have flyers, business cards. This is a business card right here that we created already. And that's just what we're trying to get our name out. We also, another big marketing strategy is having a website. Not having a website is really difficult. If you don't have a website, it's hard to have your customers go somewhere online. Going to Facebook, not everyone has Facebook, not everyone wants to go to Facebook. The website is the ideal. Our competition is very limited in this area. There's one place in West Plains, it's called Weaponry Store, There's a few other small businesses that are like one person owned. But I don't consider that like threats. There's enough customers for all of us. Stanley Steamer is a corporate-owned carpet cleaning company, and they are also based in West Plains. They're everywhere, but they're our closest corporate company. Long-term development is just what your goal is, what you want to happen in the next 3, 5, 10 years, 15 years. So 3 years from now, I'm hoping to have a location. 5 years from now, I'm hoping that we will have a pretty good structure down, that our bases are all covered, and we're good. We have lawyer, we have accounting, and secretary, stuff like that. 10 and 15 years down the road is really hard to plan where we would be at. But hopefully by then, I want to move our location to maybe a bigger city, or just expand to a bigger city, just to get more sales and just more profitable in a bigger city. Risks that I'll have would be, I have insurance, but it's always a risk going into people's houses and something happening, maybe a dog dying or something, just anything can happen. So that's a risk, and also inflation and the way inflation is a risk, just because everything is going up, and it's hard for every business owner, and hard for everyone. SWOT analysis stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. My biggest strength right now is the experience that I have, or that the business has. My dad has, like I said before, 30 years of experience in the cleaning industry, so that's helping us a lot. I wouldn't have made $2,000 this month without my dad. Weaknesses that we have would be starting from nothing, starting with no financials, no money. That was very difficult. Threats that we have, like I said, it was inflation. I already talked about financials. So right now, I just like a week ago, I just got an account at Community First Bank, and we put all of our funds in there. Our monthly cash flow is only $2,000 this month. I don't have a lot of money or a lot of financials, and our expenses are gas and chemicals, and also equipment. Equipment is very expensive for the cleaning industry. You can spend as much as you want. You can spend $20,000 on equipment and more. It just goes beyond. My judges have any questions? Yes.
So how long does it take, in that picture, you showed us where you were cleaning the carpet with that tool, how long does that process normally take?
It all depends. That carpet was very dirty. There was a lot of oil and grease because of the bikes and 4-wheelers all around. But let's say your house, if you have carpet, it won't take long at all. What my dad, this is my dad doing this. That is what it'll take the most longest, because he has to go really slow or you can go really, really fast. And scrubbing, it doesn't, you can go as fast as you want, as long as it's, you know, being moved forward, you'll still do its job. That whole building, that was Mega Motorsports, I don't know if any of you guys know what it is. That whole building took us 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And they have an upstairs as well, upstairs where offices are. And then the whole showroom floor, and also there's a couple offices on the showroom floor.
That was a big project.
Oh yeah, it was fun though. It was my first real carpet job down here. Any other questions?
Did you make 2,000 or is it, did you take your expenses out of that 2,000?
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yes, yes. Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Judges, did you get the correct number? We didn't get his name and number on the board. You got it? Okay, great.
I'll just send this.
Do you guys need this project right here? Do you have it here?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Down is.
Here was the last thing.
No.
You guys need to leave. I look back at the mirror laughing. I'm gonna stop my presentation. Sorry.
Just if you're checking people at the door. Do that. No, I don't worry. No problem.
Excuse me, mind me, I'm right into her.
Somebody's still in the coverage map, right here.
Okay.
You have his number?
I do, right here, but Josh is logged in.
Oh, we need to.
Or just sign out.
Lock myself in. Your name and your number on your board.
They already have it.
Okay.
Is there another judge in
I was
here?
like, I don't have a number.
Hey, can you use this computer? I'm not judging this one. Do you wanna use this one, because I'm not judging. This one.
Okay. And then you can get that one figured out.
Just so good. I enjoy games so much, I have to listen to it.
We'll just give you a name, call it the
Hey, forever.
You insist.
Sure.
What's your name?
Right.
Your real name.
Slim Shady.
Some call me Johnny Bravo.
Some call you what?
Johnny Bravo.
That's not what I call
Kurt calls me mean names.
I was calling gay.
Yes.
It continues.
It stays on. Everybody ready?
We're just ready. Last year, while I was keeping score for the junior varsity team, after the varsity game, the scoreboard transmitter got wet, and because it was raining and cold outside, we eventually had to call the game off because of the rain, but also because the transmitter got wet. Coach Forrest and I did some digging on Google and found out the exact transmitter we needed was around $750. So me and him talked, and we decided that it would be better if, or it would be good for the team if I made the press box, which was my senior project. Hello, I'm Gabe, and my senior project was remodeling the press box at the baseball field. In sports, athletes have to push themselves mentally, train very hard physically, and evolve with the progress of sports. They have to stay up with the history and continue to evolve. The main reason I chose this was because I played sports from a very young age. I started playing sports 14 years ago, and my first ever T-ball game at 4 years old. I played many sports, mostly baseball. I started playing baseball with my best friends for Ozark Tire. In that game, I hit one really hard and broke a little girl's arm, and I felt really bad about it. I also believe that children play way too many video games these days. I try to stay off the video games, but I'm 18 years old and I play video games quite a bit. But when I'm not playing video games, I like to go outside and play basketball and hoop up with Owen. I also believe that the history of baseball is just super intriguing. I grew up watching baseball movies. My favorite one was the movie 42 with Jackie Robinson. The history of baseball has come really far from where it first started. The first written set of baseball rules was called the Massachusetts Rule. The Massachusetts Rule were pre-Civil War era, and they first came out around 1870. The set of rules included a striker, a thrower, and 6 bases. The bases were metal posts coming up out of the ground about 6 feet. The striker was the batter, and the thrower had to throw to him, aka the pitcher. The striker then had to run around the bases or the posts in order to receive a point. There were no set number of players on the team, so it could be 5-on-5 or 3-on-6. It didn't matter, just whatever anyone wanted. There's also the unwritten rule. The unwritten rule is a rule that barred colors from playing the game of baseball. This rule was broken by Jackie Robinson, as I stated earlier. He was the first color player to ever play in Major League Baseball. There was also the 1971 Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates' 1971 September lineup consisted of 9 Hispanics and/or colored players. The next part of my research was the benefits. Technology has come from baseball has come super far, whether it's tracking movement on a player or letting him do his training in virtual reality. Virtual reality can be either playing games or training through them. There's a virtual reality game called Win Reality that lets players play the game of baseball and train through it. There's also online sporting events which have increased dramatically from COVID, and people can watch them anywhere, anytime, as long as they have the internet. There are also downloadable applications on cell phones, and athletes can upload videos through this app, or trainers can put meal plans in that app, and that's how they track their diet for the day and make sure they get their workouts in. The last part of my research was the necessity of equipment. Equipment is a huge necessity in today's game. You can't have a game without it. The safer the equipment is, the better the games will go, and the less injuries there will be. Proper equipment can prevent these injuries, such as sliding mitts, batting helmets, elbow guards, whatever it is, you name it. But eventually, there will be an injury, and for these injuries, we must have athletic surgeons. Athletic surgeons are super highly sought after right now because of COVID. Nobody wanted to do anything, so they all just sat around at home. This is what my product looked like before. It was super wide open to conditions, and the rain could just get in there, and there's an electrical box right there that would get wet all the time. You'd have to reset it. All our equipment was exposed at all times, and it was just super unsafe. My research for the product included my technology, which was the core transmitter, the safety, which was keeping the electrical outlet away from the rain, and the weather, which is what caused the core transmitter to go out in the first place. This is what it looks like now. It's closed off. This is the entrance. This is the window. This is the back of it right here. And this is the electrical box that runs through, and there's a outlet right about here. In this picture, I am taking off the electrical box, which the city was not happy about. They actually got very upset at me, and they had to come put it back on because we couldn't get it. In this picture, I'm painting. You know, no artist. It's really bad, but I did go back and touch it up. And this picture, I'm having to push up the tin because it was folded down from all the wear and tear. And this last picture, there's a big gap right here that Mr. Bell and I were trying to figure out how we can close off. We ended up pushing them together closer, and we nailed them just like that. The challenges I faced were the gaps in the walls. There was a huge gap right here in this area, and it was 3 to 4 inches wide, but it doesn't look like it. We ended up filling that gap with 2x4s that were about 3 feet long enough to where it could fit in there perfectly, and we painted over them to where you couldn't even tell. Another challenge was the weight for materials. The materials were really high priced because of COVID, but we tried to wait longer so they would go down, but they actually ended up going up a little more. Its prices spiked, and it actually ended up costing the city a little more money than it should have. Paint was another hard thing. It was just super expensive. It's like $75 a gallon, the kind of paint we got. And the paint would also run, because when we did this, it was like 30 degrees outside. Shouldn't have waited so long. But it was like super cold, and the ground would frost every night. And we just had our boards in the ground instead of having them inside. So the boards would frost over. And when we put them on, they were in the sun, and the water would start running. We could never get the paint to stay. The benefits, I believe, from my press box, my teammates and I are able to stay warm now, and we can stay out of the weather, and it just all around looks better. This is what my product ended up looking like from the backside. I believe that from my press box, my teammates and I are able to stay out of the conditions, stay safe, and stay out of the weather, and we have a better place to keep score and look at on the field. Thank you. I just have any questions.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate that. It's probably
It looks really nice.
It's probably an eyesore, so.
No, it looks really good. I just.
Any other questions that aren't hating on me this time?
No.
Sorry, why didn't you paint your boards in the shop, let them dry, and then go install them?
Mr. Bell and I decided that we, instead of having to go out there and we decided that it'd be better to cut them to the proper size and then paint them instead of painting a whole board, because we didn't know what the dimensions were at first. We didn't have the measurements. Because we couldn't go down to the field during the day, and I had basketball practice every night. So that's the reason for that. Sorry, that kind of sounded bad. Any other questions?
Good job, Gabe. I got old age. Old age. Sorry, Gabe. No.
I tried to make sure you're quiet in the hallway.
Yes, I am.
Well, I was gonna say that the back to that. Is your clicker good down kind of?
Mine, did you kill all of them? Huh? Kill all of them? I didn't kill anything. My grandpa killed that one. Cousin killed that one. My brother killed that one. Chris? Huh? Chris? Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird reference, I guess.
I don't know. I was, I haven't paid attention to it.
If you guys want to look at it, you can bring it to you if you want.
Josiah. Like, are you expecting anybody else?
No.
Did everybody get his?
My judge is ready. So, whenever you guys see a deer, you probably don't think about the deer management that goes into having a successful herd in Missouri or anywhere. You might think about them getting hit by cars or kind of competition amongst the family, so you can kill a bigger deer or more deer. And backstory on this is my grandfather is who got me into hunting and made me care about the population and how the deer herd is. Whenever I was younger, I always wanted to go deer hunting, and I probably started when I was about 5. I'd go out there and sit with him, and I never got to use a gun at the time, but it was still a fun experience to go out there and learn and see what to do. And whenever I turned about 8, I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you care if maybe I get to shoot something this time?" And he was more than happy to let me. So we went out there, and it was a late hunt, and we went out there and we pushed over a tree, a dead one, and we sat behind it, and coincidentally, deer came real close to us, and I didn't even have to look through the scope to kill it. I just kind of looked over it and shot it, happened to hit it. And it was a good shot, I guess, because it died. And then I always thought taxidermy was cool because it brought life back to an already dead animal, and you can hang them in your house and it gives a cool story. You can tell stories to people that come by and see it. I just thought it was cool, and I kind of thought it was something maybe I wanted to do later in life. And my family always has a deer camp every year, so we go out there and hang out. It's more immediate family. Nobody really travels too far, and we'll hang out and tell stories and eat and try to have a good time and kill deer. My first part of my research was chronic wasting disease, or CWD. It's a neurological disease in the deer, and it affects their brain, and most of them die within 6 to 12 months of getting the disease. And it's a pretty slow and painful death. They'll get real skinny, they won't be skittish from humans anymore. Kind of lose the fear of that. A lot of them just starve to death, really. And one way they try to help stop this is mandatory testing, and that's done by a deep tissue sample. So the first 2 weeks of season only, if your county has the disease, you'll have to take it into conservation stations, and they'll have them there, and they'll take a little tissue sample of the deer, out of the deer, and test it. But chronic wasting, if you eat a deer that happens to test positive, it doesn't affect you at all. It's just in the deer herd. And controlling it is they suggest not mating deer out of season, especially not in season, because they don't want large congregations of deer eaten by each other, because they can be transferred that way. So they try to teach you proper plotting techniques, kind of spread your plots out, and try to keep the deer away from each other the best you can. I mean, you can't keep them away from each other because rut and everything keeps getting close to each other. Negative effect on a deer herd is poaching. There was a guy in Pennsylvania, which is the 10 counts there. He got caught for 10 counts of poaching, and he faced a $500,000 fine, up to 3 years in jail, and they confiscated 25 guns from him, and they took his hunting license. The process to hydro dipping is very gross. You gotta boil it. I probably boiled them 5 times to get them all softened up, and power washed them in between all this 5 times. And power wash them a lot, let them out, and then you'll take them and soak them in bleach for about 5 minutes to whiten them up a little bit. But if you soak them too long, you'll eat the bones and make them real soft and brittle. And I also did a little bit of woodworking. I used some scrap wood we had in the garage and made 3 plaques to hang them on. And here's kind of a process of them. So this is what that is this deer right here. It looked like before I did anything, and then that's it whenever I got all the skin and hide peeled off, and then that's a picture of it being boiled, and then that's the first time I power washed it. And that's what it ended up looking like after. It was all power washed and clean, and when I finally bleached it, I got the real white look and put it in borax so it wouldn't smell. And there's the one with the American flag is right there. That's after it was done too. And that was right after it was still wet in that picture, right after I dipped it. And there's the scrap wood I used right beside that. And there's one of the plaques I built for him to hang on. So afterwards, I realized I no longer wanted to do taxidermy because I was covered in deer matter for a while because I still have brains in me. You got to get that out. And a power washer tends to send stuff everywhere. It's not real great. But the materials I used was 3 cans of spray paint, which is the black, orange, and a brown. And I only spent like $20 on that, which is all I spent on my product, which is pretty good because the film I used for the American flag was actually given to me by my mentor. And there's more pictures of them all. This one's probably my favorite one, the American flag, even though it took the most time because I couldn't get the film to stick. The challenges was the equipment was breaking a lot. So we actually ran out of propane for the big pot we were boiling them in, so we couldn't do that for a little bit. We had to run in town and get more propane, and then the film wouldn't stick because I couldn't get the water the right temperature for the American flag one. So I probably dipped it 4 times before it finally stuck. And some benefits were I realized taxidermy is not for me, but I did learn how to hydro dip deer heads, which is pretty cool and a good skill to have. My third one was communication with my mentor. We weren't always on the same page, I guess, about stuff, which was a problem. So I hope I taught you a little bit about management and maybe about taxidermy. My judges have any questions?
Did you shoot these deer?
I did not. So the orange and black one was my grandfather's. That one's my cousin's, and this one's my brother's.
So can you tell us a little more about the process of the hydro dipping?
Yeah, so with this one, it's the one with the film, so the design comes already done on the film. So you're gonna cut it to the length you need. And I used a laundry tote without holes in it, so water wouldn't stay in it. And I filled it up with water, and it had to be around 105 to 110 degrees, and no more, no less, or it will not stick. And I filled it up in there. I used a thermometer and washed it really closely. And then you got to put the film in there, and you can't have any wrinkles in it or rips or bubbles in it. And it's really hard to smoothen it out, so you want to kind of bow the film down and set the middle down first, and then lay the outsides out. And then you're going to let it sit there for about a minute, let the water kind of soak in. Then you're going to come over and spray with activator, and then it'll activate the film, and you can finally dip it.
You hydro dipped anything else other than?
I hydro dipped back when I was in about 7th grade.
That's the last time I did it. If you guys want to cut them, cut them too.
I'm good. Thank you. Yes.
Over here, it is.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah, I did. I made sure it was right.
Uh-huh. Oh, well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is.
Yeah, exactly.
You had a lot of dollars at once, huh? Yeah.
Are you expecting anyone?
No.
Yes, it is, and waiting to be in the last one's the worst.
Yeah. I think the anticipation of it is the worst part. The anticipation of it.
Yes,
is
it
the worst
is.
part. Yeah.
It is.
My experience is the speech is worse, so it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Bye.
Guess we'll see.
Guess she's leaving.
Oh, I was. Because I saw there something that is that some cats?
That one had run,
Oh,
so, are you okay with
yeah. Are my judges ready? There is a metaphorical story about a scorpion and a rabbit. One day, a scorpion was standing at the edge of a stream wanting to cross it. The rabbit comes up to the scorpion, asking what it's doing. The scorpion explains that it cannot swim, and then it suggests that it rides on the rabbit's back. The rabbit says that it's not comfortable doing this because it's afraid that the scorpion will sting it with its poison. The scorpion promises that it won't do this, and so it climbs to the rabbit's back, and they start to travel across the stream. Halfway through, the scorpion ends up stinging the rabbit with its poison. The rabbit says, "You promised you wouldn't do this," and the scorpion says, "I am a scorpion, this is what I do." Hello, my name is Evelyn Carmichael. Unpredictable and sometimes even predictable incidents happen to people every single day, which is why it is important to know the different skills and tactics of self-defense. Situations like the scorpion and rabbit story can happen to anyone, so spreading awareness about self-defense and even having the knowledge of just the basics of self-defense is extremely important. During my research, the reason why I chose this topic for my senior project is because my father used to be a police officer and has always taught my family the importance of knowing self-defense and having knowledge of it. He's always taught us that it is better to be safer rather than sorry. We even have a safety drill at home in case my brother and I are ever home alone and someone tries to break in. If done correctly, self-defense can really save someone's life, so it's good to at least know the basics of self-defense. During my research, I learned that it is good to know what kind of predator is attacking you. No matter how twisted and evil it may seem, every person that commits a crime has a reason for what they are doing. There are a lot of different kinds of predators, but the two main kinds of predators are resource predators and process predators. Resource predators are predators who want your belongings. In this case, it is better to simply just give up your belongings rather than fighting against their demands in order to save your life. Resource predators tend to be more loud, demanding, and impulsive. The next kind of predator is a process predator. A process predator is a predator who wants you specifically. In this case, it is better to fight for your life. And this is when the more specific self-defense techniques come in very handy. Process predators tend to be more sneaky, manipulative, and they tend to take their victims to a secondary crime scene. Of course, each predator is equally dangerous, but it is important to know the difference between the two so you can know how to handle the situation better. Once you know what kind of predator is attacking you, you can better know what to do in a situation. Self-defense is situational, so you won't really know what to do in a situation until you're in that situation. But there are a few different things that you can do to help prevent or avoid different things from happening to you. For instance, always having some sort of weapon with you is extremely important. This can consist of pepper spray, a knife, a gun, and even a flashlight can work. Also avoiding dangerous places such as dark alleys, unsafe neighborhoods, and going to unfamiliar places alone. Even the little things can prevent a dangerous situation from happening to you. For instance, always being cautious in public, always telling someone where you are at, and knowing the different tactics that predators use to target their victims.
It is also important to know that you can use improvised weapons. So if you don't have an actual weapon with you, you can use anything that's around you to help defend your life. For instance, if you're in a classroom, you could use a pencil or a chair. Basically, anything that is around you that can be used as a weapon is important to know. So being aware of your surroundings is important. Also, knowing the different vulnerable points on the body is important because once you know the different vulnerable points, you can know what to target when you are trying to defend your life. And some different examples of the vulnerable points is the eyes, the throat, and the knees. So educating yourself on the different vulnerable points is important. Also knowing the different facts and statistics about different crimes and different tactics that predators use is extremely important as well. For instance, knowing the most common places of attack. The most common places for attack are on the streets, parking garages, at a friend's house, and schools, but mostly colleges. So once you know what the most common places for attack are, you can either avoid those places or you can be extra cautious in those places. Also, studies have shown that predators can be scared off by confidence. So if you make it known that you are aware of your surroundings and you make more eye contact, then a predator is less likely to target you because they tend to target people who are distracted or not aware of what's going on. So being confident, making more eye contact, and just making it known that you are aware of your surroundings is extremely important. Also knowing the most common forms of attack. Of course, anyone can be attacked by anyone, but attacks typically happen to women and children more because they are easier to take advantage of. So the most common forms, the most common forms of attack that men have on women is by sneaking up on them, cozying up to them, or ambushing them. So once women know the most common forms of attack, they can be more cautious and prepared for any kind of dangerous situation that might happen to them. It is also good to always trust your intuition. So we all have our own instincts, and our instincts are usually right. So women also have a naturally very strong instinct, but we also tend to be more nurturing and caring, and we don't want to come off as rude. But it is so much better to come off as rude or offensive rather than risking your life by being nice. So always trust your instincts. So during my research, I decided to teach a self-defense class. I talked to my mentor, and we decided to teach 2 sessions with 1 class in 1 week. In the first session, we started off by talking about situational awareness. We explained to them the different weapons that they can use and the different daily preventative steps that they can take to avoid a dangerous situation happening to them. And we also gave them different stories and examples of different dangerous incidents. After we talked to them about situational awareness, we had them practice their stances and footwork. This is basically how you stand when you are being attacked at or when someone is coming after you. And so we had them practice that for a while. Then we showed them different blocks and covers that they can use to block a punch or a hit. And so we demonstrated it to them, and then we had them practice those. Then we explained to them a collar tie. We had my demonstration guys demonstrate a collar tie, which is basically a technique that you can use to control your attacker better. And so after demonstrating it, we had them practice the collar tie. Then we showed them different elbow drills and hand strikes that they can use. There were a lot of different kinds, and so we demonstrated it to them and then had them practice it. This is a picture of me demonstrating it, and my demonstration guys demonstrating it, and then those are 2 pictures of them practicing. Other techniques that we taught them were different knee drills, stomps and kicks, takedowns, headlock escapes, bridging and hip escapes, guard variations, ground fighting drills, what to do when attackers have weapons, when to fight and when to run away, and different running and wrestling. So some of the challenges that I experienced during the product was knowing how to teach. I've never taught a class before, and I found it pretty challenging to figure out how to teach a class. But after a lot of preparation and discussion with my mentor, we came up with a great plan, and it went pretty smooth. Another challenge was knowing where to teach my sessions. My original plan was to have it in the Bearsden, but that didn't work out. And so after talking to my mentor and the principal, we decided to have my sessions in the region. Situations like the scorpion and rabbit story can happen to anyone. Of course, we shouldn't constantly be paranoid or worried, but it is always better to be safer rather than sorry, which is why it is good to know different self-defense tactics and techniques, and because it can really save your life. Thank you. Did I do this type of questions?
You had mentioned that you have whatever for home. You guys practice that at home, or
Drill or
yeah.
safety
Yes.
drills? Yeah, so my father, he had my brother and I go through it and know what to do. So we have a gun at home and he taught me how to use that. And he told me to have my brother and my dogs go into my room, and then I go to his bedroom and grab the gun and, you know, use it however I need to. Yeah.
I'm a native, I never visit.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Would you consider, doing this again? Is this something that you?
Yeah, I would. I think it's extremely important to spread awareness about it because it really can save someone's life. So I definitely would. Yeah. I would probably prepare the speech a little bit better. But
No, I thought you did a good job. I think, I think someone like you that would really be beneficial, especially those graduating and going into college, because you said that's kind of one of the most often areas that things can happen would be to give this type of class to people that are going out on their own into college.
Yeah.
Is there a question there? Is it just a statement?
I don't know. I was leading into a question, but I didn't get to it, and she was shaking her head, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she already knows. She gets it. She's got it.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. What was my time?
9 minutes, 66.
9 minutes?